Hey everybody, BeyondDrewTV here. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another episode of Zoo Design. So this is the first episode of Zoo Design since Planet Zoo has fully come out, and it's been a little bit of a break from this series as I've kind of dipped my toes into the full experience of Planet Zoo there. So if you haven't been catching up with Planet Zoo and everything, do be sure to go watch Thornton Hills Zoo and all the fun habitat builds that we have been doing there. But continuing on with the Zoo Design here, I thought it would be fun to dive back in here and kind of address some questions that I've gotten since Planet Zoo has kind of fully released there. Not just to myself, but I know other content creators have gotten these questions as well. And that main question is, how do you design the zoos that you're building, or what's your main inspiration for when you're designing zoos or habitats or you name it? And a lot of times that's kind of it's not really a short answer question a lot of times. Sometimes it's a lot of things go into it, basically. So as you know, if you've been keeping up with the Zoo Design series between looking at concept arts and Google Maps and stuff, you know that that's kind of some of the areas that myself and others kind of look into to kind of give ourselves inspiration. But again, I guess kind of thought we would collectively bring together everything that myself and others do to kind of give ourselves inspiration as we're kind of starting from scratch or just building a habitat or a zoo there. So yeah, without much more rambling on there, let's kind of just jump in. We're going to hit a few points here and just kind of explain what we're looking at as we're going through it. So here we go. Okay, so the first thing I wanted to cover was something that we've already covered really extensively on the Zoo Design series here, but that's Google Maps and using satellite mode on Google Maps. Again, if we've done a whole series on this, so if you want to go back and look, we've done this zoo, the Brookfield Zoo, San Diego Zoo, a whole bunch of different zoos, but so you can kind of take a look at those if you want. But if you'd like to look at different zoos yourself, you can go up here and just kind of search in the search bar, and to get to your satellite view, just do the drop down menu here, and you'll have your satellite mode. You can kind of get that going, and a little bit more with satellite mode is you can get your person here, your little yellow dude, click and drag him and drop them on the blue lines here. Not everywhere has the blue lines. It kind of depends on the location and if Google is allowed to take pictures there, or if they have taken pictures there. But if they have, then you can kind of drop your guy down and get some nice views there. So again, yeah, Google Maps is really, really nice to use, and then going down and dropping your guy down there to look at places is really good to use as well. And we use that all the time for inspiration, taking inspiration from real world structures or buildings or anything like that, layouts, you name it, is really, really helpful. And obviously a top-down view, you know, we can see a great view of the layout and how they do their paths and everything like that in this zoo specifically here. So yeah, again, Google Maps and the first-person mode and everything is really, really nice to use. And yeah, we've covered that before, so we won't spend too much time on it. But there is something new that I've just been made aware of today from an awesome community member in my Discord server, Erlyn Dark Whisper. They notified me that you can actually distance out enclosures and areas and stuff like that. So let's take, for example, if you wanted to recreate this tropic world here, this is a nice big habitat, indoor habitat. You can go ahead and right click, and there's a bunch of different things that you can do here, but for our purposes here, we're going to go down to measure distance. When you do that, it's going to drop down a point. Now you can click and drag this point, so we want to do right on the corner there, and then the next thing you can do is click again, and that will make a second point, and you can see that we can do the same thing, click and drag, and you can see that we're making a line. And if we do this all the way around, we make, you know, we square it in pretty well there. You can see here that it does your total distance there, and it will actually measure out again this whole thing there and tell you the distance that it is. So that is very handy, especially if you're, you know, let's just say you're wanting to get how big this is for an enclosure, you know, for whatever reason. You're wanting to make an enclosure that's, you know, this big. So again, you just measure it out, just square it out, connect it together, and there you go. You have your total distance in meters, and you can just kind of plan it out, and you can even look at how long your distances are between here, and put little, you know, drop points in the middle there and stuff. So, you know, this is 100 meters there, so you can really kind of measure yourself out there. And I didn't know about that until today. So that is great info to know, especially, you know, when we're trying to design our habitats and how big do we want them to be. And if you're trying to do realistic kind of enclosures and habitats, that will really, really help. So, all right, let's look at the next thing that really helps us out. Okay, up next is something else that we've covered extensively on the channel. It's actually what started the entire Zoo Design series there, but it is concept art. So if you're not already, do be sure to run over to Google and put in, if you're doing a bear exhibit or enclosure, type in bear enclosure concept art. And you'll typically get a heck load of things. Sometimes you won't, and you'll have to kind of readjust how you're Googling things. But if you look, here's our first result here, and this is a really, really nice concept art for a polar bear exhibit. And typically, and you'll see here, if you go down to the related images, you'll see that there are more images that are, again, related to this. So you'll get some more kind of concept arts for zoos and stuff like that. And yeah, just concept art in general is a very, very good tool to use there, and I highly recommend Googling it and stuff like Googling it. I don't know why that made me laugh, but using concept art. And remember, you can save these to your computer, so you can always run back to them whenever you need to without having to jump online there. So go ahead and save those for future use. And another site to use that is full of concept art is Zoolix here. I'm pretty sure that Mr. Pulsley has covered Zoolix, but if you're not already and you haven't heard of it, here it is, Zoolix right there. Put this in your favorites tab. This basically covers all things zoos and their habitats, basically. So right here, here's a bison and peccary, and this is just going to show you everything about this habitat there that's located in Germany. So it gives you an entire description here of the entire habitat. It gives you the number, just breaks down all the number of animals, the number of visitors they think they're gonna come and everything, how much it's gonna cost, the opening days. Obviously some of those things aren't important for Planet Zoo, but what is important is some of the plants that they feature. But what is important, sorry, is on the right hand side here, you may have seen it, they put in concept arts typically. And they really, really get some detailed blueprints and concept arts that you can save to your computer and use there. Now, I know at first glance, if you're not used to seeing concept arts or blueprints or plans or anything, that this might just be a load of like, what the heck? But once you start to look down, and if you know how to read German, it helps too. But once you start to really break it down and look, it really, really helps out a lot. And some of them are way more, I guess you'd say, detailed. Yeah, detailed than other ones, and they give you a lot of different concept arts to look at. So like this black bear in Minnesota. You can really see how they've labeled it out and just laid it out for you there. So Zoolix has, again, a ton of stuff in it. We could spend an entire hour and a half, 2-hour episode just looking through all of the things. There has a great search bar tool as well, so you can kind of search through there and see what there is. So yeah, definitely utilize Zoolix there, and overall concept art for zoos as well. Okay, the next thing kind of tying in with concept arts and Zoolix there is going to be looking at actual habitats in the world. So while Planet Zoo, does encourage creativity and kind of doing what you want to do, definitely, of course, do that. But, for a lot of us, and maybe some of you just coming into the Planet Zoo series, you might want to be kind of recreating a habitat or a zoo altogether, or, you just want to take some inspiration from the real world, just kind of get your footings, get your start going. I do that all the time, and a lot of us do as well. Like I said, we just kind of will look at either an enclosure or a real life zoo and just kind of, okay, that's my general idea I want to go off of. So we'll kind of use that to as my starting gate there. So again, if you kind of just go in here, and I typed in elephant habitat zoo. So those are all keywords I want. I want to look up an elephant, a habitat, and a zoo. Just keywords. So they always bring up some really, really nice things. Like this is concept art here. So they'll bring up a mixture of concept art and real world stuff. There you go. So, I really like this image right here, and I'm looking at it. I'm like, I could probably recreate that in I almost call it Planet Coaster. Planet Zoo there. We have this trunk here that we could do. The water is definitely something we can do. We have these kind of retaining walls here. Definitely. We have this metal wall and roof in the game already. These windows we have in the game. This structure right here can easily make that. So yeah, I'm like, yeah, you know what? I can definitely make that. So I find out this is in the Denver Zoo. So I might go to the Denver Zoo's Google Maps, tying in together what we're using, everything there. So I might go to the Denver Zoo Google Maps and do the satellite image and try and look at the habitat a little bit more, see what I can get inspiration from. And again, just use it for inspiration or just full out recreate it. But either way, real world habitats, enclosures, zoos, all that fun stuff is really, really good to use. And there's a lot of examples online for that. So cool. Let's move on to the next bit of inspiration. Okay, hitting you with the bright colors there in this transition, but this is something that we used in Planet Coaster a whole lot, and I don't see why we wouldn't be able to use it in Planet Zoo as well. So if you're like me, my color palette is not the best. I'm pretty basic when it comes to colors there and color palettes all around. So if you're not already, do go look up the website Coolors. And I should mention, I'm not being sponsored by any of these websites. This is just stuff that a lot of us have, again, used in Planet Coaster and Planet Zoo for just designing and helping us out. But yeah, head over to this website here. It's really, really handy. It saved my butt in Planet Coaster a number of times when doing color palettes for whether it be roller coasters or just a building in general, you name it there. So yeah, but this site's really nice because you can come in here and hit spacebar, and as you do, it kind of cycles through the colors. And if you see one you're like, okay, yeah, you know what, I like this brown here. It'll kind of take that brown and take other colors that are kind of similar to them. Like, okay, yeah, I like these, and like, okay, there's my color palettes. The next really important thing about this, if you don't already know, you're gonna see down here is a little hex number there. So this random number, it might just, it is very random, of course. If you don't know about it, you can copy this and paste it into Planet Zoo to get this exact color in the game. So you're gonna want to do Control-C, go to the game, go to your color palette, and then you're gonna see this little random number kind of marked up there, and you want to go ahead and Control-V or paste Control-V that in there, and you'll have the exact same color that you got from Coolers. So again, if you get a nice color palette that you like, you can kind of take these hex codes and just put them right into the game, and you'll have that color palette in the game there. So Coolers is, again, there's other sites that are like this, I'm sure, but this is just the one that I happened to stumble upon about 2 or 3 years ago. So hopefully that helps you all out there. So cool. That was the second to last thing. Let's look at the last thing that helps a lot of content creators out planning out their zoos and stuff. Okay, so this last thing here is probably the biggest revelation for me personally that I didn't even know was out there until Miss Daylady Designer messaged me on Twitter a little while ago in between the beta and full release, and she was like, hey, have you heard of Zoo Master Plans? And I was like, no, not really. And she let me know that, and thank you, Daylady Designer, for letting me know, because it radically changed my view on how to design. But basically, a number of zoos, if not almost all of them, I believe, all public ones at least, they have their master plans out for the public to view. So right here you can see we have the Denver Zoo Master Plan, and you literally, if you type in Zoo Master Plan, it will bring up pages of master plans for zoos, and some of them are extremely detailed, some of them are only maybe a paragraph or two long. It kind of depends. I bring up the Denver Zoo one because A, it's one of the first ones that get brought up, and B, it's probably one of the most extensively detailed ones. It's so detailed that if you're not already following them, Ruble Trillions is making a zoo called Tivoli Zoo, and it is almost a carbon copy replica, like model train replica of these Denver Zoo's master plan that they're currently building right now, and he's doing a fantastic job of recreating it. So if you're into like realistic building and stuff, definitely go follow him if you're not already. Again, Ruble Trillions. I'll try and remember to link his stuff. But anyways, yeah, so that's the master plans there, and just kind of show you real quick the Denver Zoos here. Here is the Denver Zoos, and you can download these and everything. And this one's 78 pages long. We'll start at the top here, but again, this one's 78 pages long from 2015, and its master plan is going through, I believe, 2020 or even 25 or something like that. It tells you in here, but they're usually extensively long and very, very thorough. I mean, very thorough. I know I'm going through this very quick because, again, it's 78 pages long, and there's some good stuff to kind of show off. So here's a look at kind of the current Denver Zoo, and then if you kind of scroll down, they kind of show just kind of all the little nitty-gritty details of everything that they're wanting to add or keep, or here's the leg, here's the topography, the tree canopy, here's our trees that are legacy trees or existing trees, or these are important trees, and it just breaks down everything that you need to know about, again, zoo master planning, basically. So yeah, this, you could spend obviously hours reading through all of these, and if you really should, this is where the eventual plan for the zoo, there's the difference between the two. But yeah, no, you really should, if you're really kind of enjoying the game so far and you want to take that deep dive. These are the kind of the PDFs or the reads that you kind of need to deep dive into to kind of get that feel for the design of a zoo and everything like that. So yeah, you always hear Geekism, Jonty, and Mass Bandit and them kind of joke around about Jonty reading his PDFs, but hey, the results show, right? So this is what we're doing. This is what, again, myself, Jonty, Mass, S-Stan, just all the awesome creators that you all watch out there. This is what we do a lot of time in our spare time when we're designing and stuff like that. We'll, go ahead and look at all the Google Maps. We'll do the distance mapping, look at concept arts, look at real life examples. look at color palettes from coolers, look at master plans, you know, and then also not even look at things that are related to zoos. So you can look up, you know, different Asian architecture or different Indian architecture and stuff like that and apply it. You can look up museum architecture. So I think really the overall theme is use Google to your advantage, right? You have this awesome search tool there that really could utilize your building and everything. So, but yeah, no, this, again, that was hopefully just a quick little overview of the question that I get all the time and others get all the time of how do you design, where do you get your inspiration from. Hopefully that kind of helps just a little bit. If any of y'all have any other questions when it comes to designing or anything like that, you know, we can do another video that addresses those questions, or I'll just answer them down in the comments. But yeah, hey, I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here. Again, hopefully this was helpful to some of y'all. I'd love to hear your thoughts and everything down in the comments, and yeah, until the next episode of Zoo Design, y'all have a good one. Thanks.